This is probably as close as you're going to get to any actual truth that exists on this planet. The civilization they built was the Atlantean civilization. The Great Pyramid is encoded with super advanced knowledge, pi, phi, and so many other incredible mathematical formulas. Why would the speed of light be encoded into the Great Pyramid? How would they know how Earth formed that many millions of years ago? Where did that knowledge come from? How many people have ever heard of the planet Ceres? That is the planet right after Mars. People live there. That's what's going on. Mars is called the god of war for a reason. It's because it definitely had an intricate part in the ancient civilization aspect of our reality many, many eons ago. In my opinion, this entire civilization on this planet right now, currently, is a cargo cult. We're talking about a cult of people that literally were engaged by a more advanced people. So if you look at this image up here, this is in the South Pacific. These people now for many, many, many decades are still remembering the United States showing up to their islands. These islands in the French Polynesia where we decided we wanted to go remove some people off of their island and then blow it up with a nuclear bomb so we can see what's gonna happen, okay? So we went to where? We went to, of course, where the indigenous people live and took them out of their land. But when we showed up on some of these islands, these airplanes came out of the sky. They'd never seen airplanes before. They had never seen weapons like guns, which you see them here. They never seen, you see these sticks, they've got bayonets, false bayonets, but actual bayonets at the end. They saw USA on the uniforms, and look at them. They've got USA on painted on their chest. They've got fake bayonets and weapons, all based off of when they saw the sky gods come down in these airplanes and bring them supplies and cans of Spam, which is a true story, cans of Spam. You gotta realize that when you see cave paintings of aliens, you gotta take it serious. Because clearly they know what an airplane looks like. Clearly they know what a gun with a bayonet looks like. Clearly they know what a flag looks like. So when you see these people in these cave drawings or these petroglyphs are etching out and sketching out images that look alien, I believe them. Because I believe they're drawing what they saw. Look at this, a satellite dish. Think about that. This is just from a tiny bit of influence from a civilization on the same planet. Imagine beings coming here from another planet that were 1 million years ahead of us technologically. What kind of influence would they have on us? We're still advancing at an astronomical rate because we were engaged by beings from another planet. Anthropologists have invented or cultivated a number of important keywords, including culture, ethnicity, worldview, socialization, ethnography, and rite of passage. Among these terms is cargo cult, which, although more particular in scope, has enjoyed surprising popularity both inside the discipline and beyond. Peter Worsley, who compiled an early overview of cargo cults in The Trumpet Shall Sound, 1957, offered what they had already become, which is the standard definition. So we talked about what the cargo cults are. When a more advanced civilization engages a less advanced civilization, the less advanced civilization is going to deify. I'm trying to impact into your mind how all the world religions came to be. How did it happen? Why did it happen? And the origins come out of the Emerald Tablets. But look at this. The history of the Emerald Tablets translated in the following pages is strange and beyond the belief of modern scientists. Their antiquity is stupendous, dating back some 36,000 years BC. So we're talking about 38,000-year-old text. The writer is Thoth, an Atlantean priest king who founded a colony in the ancient Egypt after the sinking of the mother country. He was the builder of the Great Pyramid of Giza, erroneously attributed to Cheops. In it, he incorporated his knowledge of the ancient wisdom and also securely secreted records and instruments of ancient Atlantis. You see, the people that came here in ancient times and engaged mankind, they were the Annunaki, but that is a term that means from heaven came to earth. The civilization they built was the Atlantean civilization. You see, Atlantean is a civilization name. The people were the Anunnaki. This guy ruled for 16,000 years, according to the ancient Egyptians, one person. We're talking about a record of people that were here on this planet that had enormous and immense lifespans and had advanced technology that engaged mankind and altered us forever. The Ring City itself was one capital of dozens of capitals that existed. on this planet. Because if you read the 𝗪𝗘𝗦𝗧, Thoth says, after we raised Kemet to a high level, he told his crew that he brought there with him in a ship that descended from the sky. There are 37 verses of various objects in the Bible described as UFOs, and they are flying furnaces, burning bushes, eagles' wings, smokes, stars, and other objects that the ancient authors used to describe the fleet of the vehicles of the Elohim. The fleet of the vehicle of the Elohim. The Elohim is a plural term. In the Bible, it means gods, plural with an S. You see, in the Bible, where you see the word God, singular, there's a little bit of a mistake that happened by accident on purpose. They forgot the S. If you go back and translate the words back into Aramaic and even further back, you discover that the word is actually gods. In all these ancient scriptures and papyruses that they took from all these caves as they began to culminate this into a canonized book, I'm talking about the Council of Nicaea who did this, they began to erase the S when they copied and translated over the book because they wanted to usher in monotheism, a one God religion, a one God mindset. Virtually all religions worship and believe in aliens, and it's a fact. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's an absolute fact. We're worshiping something that's not of this world, whether it's multidimensional, whether it is dimensional, it doesn't matter. This is a fact that we can't escape. Where do a lot of this information come from? The Enuma Elish and the 7 tablets of creation is one of the greatest texts that exist that we have access to. And they tell an incredible story of not only of the creation of our solar system, they tell an incredible story of the creation of Earth itself as an actual planet, which matches up with astrophysical data. It matches. How would they know how Earth formed that many millions of years ago? Where did that knowledge come from? How did they know about the separation of waters from waters, how the asteroid belt was formed and everything else that exists in our solar system? It's in these ancient tablets. It then goes into the point where there's actual people that are advanced beings that find a way to get to Earth to create a breakaway civilization. And what I think happened was these people were writing down exactly what they were told and what they saw. This is probably as close as you're going to get to any actual truth that exists on this planet, which is why I dig into these ancient tablets like there's nobody's business. And guess what? Every single person in here can read these tablets now. You don't need to be an expert in translation because these tablets were translated long before Zechariah's Sitchin was even born. The Great Pyramid is encoded with super advanced knowledge, pi, phi, and so many other incredible mathematical formulas, advanced knowledge. So when you look into these pyramids, it's a time capsule. It's a time capsule that's describing and telling us, for the age we're living in now, who was here in ancient times and how advanced they were. Because at the time that this information was encoded into the pyramid, which I'm going to go over real quick, I did a little bit of it last year, nobody at the time can even conceive or understand anything that was being encoded. They couldn't even understand basic mathematics. Most people were actually illiterate back then. Most people were illiterate. Now, if you were just a worker person, a person that had to go, work in the fields or work for your master, which is what happened back then as well. I mean, slavery is ancient. Slavery is not nothing new. Well, you wouldn't even walk around with clothes on in ancient Egypt because they wanted to make sure you weren't stealing anything from the pharaoh. So people didn't have any idea of this advanced mathematical knowledge. They were just trying to survive day by day, literally. The pyramid over time had broken slightly in terms of the amount of power it was generating. It's a power generator. They added this granite stone box later, and they put the Ark of the Covenant in it to make a finishing piece to continue to generate electricity. You can see the corner that's broken, that huge chunk. If you can see the far side of the room, there's a gigantic hole or indentation in the granite where that chunk of granite flew off and smashed into the wall because an enormous amount of power came through this box at one point, proving again energy inside this chamber. The energy would travel to the apex and go around. The obelisk would capture that wireless energy and transmit it to jets, which would then be transmitted through electrical cables so they can have light, gold electroplating, and everything else. It's ancient technology that we have here. This is ancient stuff. We had to plug this stuff in. My computer's got to be plugged in or it's going to die. Back then, they used wireless electricity. Here I am in the King's Chamber again, so you can see that the speed of light in a vacuum is, right there, 299,792,458 meters per second. And the geographic coordinates for the Grand Gallery of the Great Pyramid is 299,792,458. What is that? How is that possible that this can be encoded? Why would the speed of light be encoded into the Great Pyramid? Now, people say, well, meters per second, we just discovered meters. No, actually not. We actually didn't just discover meters. Okay, let me show you why. If you go and look, you'll find that all of these school books are actually wrong and need to be corrected, because we've actually known for a very long time about these stone tablets discovered with Proto-Sumerian cuneiform. Now, Sumerian is where? Mesopotamia, which is where now? Iraq. Guess where these Proto-Sumerian cuneiform tablets were discovered in the world? They were discovered in Mexico by the Pyramid of the Sun. What in the world are Sumerian tablets doing in Mexico? And these aren't the only ones. There were some Indian chief that was dug up from his burial chamber in America, and where we live over there, across the pond, right? Where he had Sumerian tablets in his pocket. Now, what's interesting about these tablets are, that's the ancient metric system. So the metric system is ancient. It's not new. Stop. What they taught you in school, you got to forget about it. Wipe your brain clean and start fresh. This is the original discovery of the metric system here, which came out of Mexico, which originated where? From Sumerian cuneiform tablets. This is why I study the tablets, because they're as close as you can possibly get to the accurate truth. You know how much Wikipedia doesn't like to post this kind of information? If I took the Great Pyramid and I scaled it up 43,200 times, it will fit directly inside of the planet Earth, and each point will touch one part of the inside of the Earth. This is an astonishing discovery. This is actually just a map, a geological survey map of Avebury in the UK. And what's really interesting is it perfectly matches with a place on Mars called Cydonia. Cydonia, which means Giza, which means Giza. It's pretty interesting, right? So when you take that ordnance map that I showed you before, and you take this image from NASA, or the European Space Agency actually, and you look at the area called Cydonia, where the D&M pyramid is, that five-sided pyramid, and the famous face on Mars, and the other remnants up there in the corner, when you overlay it, all of a sudden, you get a perfect match down to the millimeter with all the anomalies. It matches perfectly. This is an overlay right here. So what happens is Avebury, that field where the bounds are, is a representation of this same field or this area in Cydonia on Mars. How in the world did they make that connection? And then when you go to Deir Allah in Jordan, you discover that the face on Mars can only be seen from the sky. Hardly anyone ever knew this even existed, that even existed. It's pretty crazy stuff. That face is a representation of the same one that they discovered on Mars as well in the late 1970s. There's a lot going on out there that you have no clue what it is. How many people have ever heard of the planet Ceres? C-E-R-E-S. Good. That is the planet right after Mars in our solar system. There's more fresh water on Ceres than there is on Earth. C-E-R-E-S. You have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and then Ceres, and then the asteroid belt. That should be mainstream news nonstop. When we sent a mission past there with a probe, it took pictures of this planet a few years ago, and on the way towards it, the lights were on. And so they hurried up and tried to say, oh, it was just probably some ice particles. Then when we got to the backside, which would be the dark side, no sunlight at all, guess what? The lights were on. Then they tried to, we kind of figure out, we don't know what it could possibly be. Somehow the ice is glowing, maybe from radiation. No, people live there. That's what's going on. People are living up there. We keep trying to find planets that are 20 million and 30 million light years away and 7 million. Listen, let me tell you something. The people are living here are right above our heads. They're right above our heads.
If you like this video and you want to see more amazing content, go ahead and check out the next video on our channel.